to be making a mushroom and spinach ravioli with a chive butter sauce. Now, I've never made this recipe before, but it has good reviews. I got it off allrecipes.com, and it sounds delicious. So, if a vegetarian ravioli dish sounds good to you, try it with me. Hopefully we'll end up with something delicious. Alright, first and foremost with this recipe, get out 8 ounces of frozen chopped spinach and let it thaw. The first step is to take a small bowl, and we're going to put in a teaspoon of olive oil, a tablespoon and a half of water, 1 tablespoon, half a tablespoon, and 2 eggs. There's 1. I said whisk these together until well mixed. It says to set aside. Now we're going to do the flour and salt and then mix them together for the dough of the ravioli. We need 2 cups of flour and 1/4 a teaspoon of salt. There's 1 cup. 2 cups, and then 1/4 a teaspoon of salt. Which is not much. Now you're going to want to take some of this. Well, first let's mix them together. Now switch to a wooden spoon because we are doing a dough. Bring it up together, but then kind of push down. There you go, so you've got a well in the center. And pour the egg, olive oil, and water mixture into it. And it says now mix them together just until combined. And then from here we're going to go to kneading, so make sure you lightly flour your surface, which we will do in 1 second. Should begin to come together slowly. Make sure your surface is clean, and then we are going to lightly flour it. I'm just going to turn it out onto there. And it says knead this for 5 to 10 minutes, or until it's got that nice consistency, that elasticity of dough. And if you've made the dough before, you know what you're looking for. I would recommend Criscoing up your hands, using a shortening of some kind, that way this doesn't stick to you. Okay, I've got some vegetable shortening I'm rubbing on my fingers. Some people could knead dough without this, but I'm kind of sloppy with dough, and it sticks to me a lot, especially if I don't have my hands oiled up with something. So we're going to start to knead this together. Just be patient with it. It sometimes takes a little bit for it to come together, but as you knead it, it will begin to stick together more. Okay, I just got done kneading my dough for about 6 minutes, and now we're ready to set it aside. My dough was really dry, and I probably added about a teaspoon of water just to get it to the proper consistency. If yours is flaky like mine was, add more water. If yours is really too sticky, add more flour. But this is kind of the look you're going for with dough. So put it in a small bowl, and then wrap it with some plastic wrap. And we're going to set it aside for later. And now we're going to chop up our onions and garlic, and then we're going to saute them. Before you begin chopping up your vegetables, I recommend getting out your cream cheese. You need 4 ounces, so get it out and let it soften a little bit. Or if you're like me and you're pressed for time, you can always use a microwave. Now we need the coarsely chopped 8 ounces of mushroom, and then we need half a cup of chopped onion, and I'm just going to do half an onion. And then we need a clove of garlic. Now this we're not chopping up, we're going to mince, which I have a tool for. If you don't have a garlic press or spice press, you can just mince this yourself by chopping it into really fine pieces. So the mushrooms, it just said coarsely chopped, so I'm not going to even worry about making them that. Okay, now I'm just going to chop the onion some. We only need half a cup, so I feel like this half an onion will be more than enough. Okay, a good tip for the garlic, take the fat end of your blade, stick it on top, and crush it. Hit it like that. As you can see, that allows you to peel the skin off pretty easily. Now that garlic is ready to be minced and all this is ready to be thrown in a saute pan and cooked up some, get your saute pan and put it over medium heat. And as it's heating up, you need to add a teaspoon of olive oil to it. You can spread it around as it starts to heat up. Now that your pan and olive oil have begun to heat up over medium heat, we can take our clove of garlic and our press, or if you minced it yourself, and put it in. Start putting your onions in there. And we're going to cook these on medium heat for 2 minutes until they start to soften. Make sure you stir them around so that they all get mixed in really well. Now we need to add in the 8 ounces of chopped mushrooms. Now we're going to keep it at the same temperature, but now we're going to cook it for 10 minutes. We're coming up on 10 minutes, and as you can see, there's a lot of the liquid being released, and you'll notice the size of the mushrooms, the onion, and even the garlic has shrunk considerably. Okay, we need a tablespoon of fresh chopped chives, so really that's only a few. And then we also need a tablespoon of fresh chopped parsley, which again is very little. Not much of either. The chives I'm going to chop just like green onion. Hold them together and then go from one end to the next. The parsley I'm just going to kind of hold together, try to cut it the same way. Now you need to take your 4 ounces of softened cream cheese, put it in a large bowl, and now we need to beat this. Make sure it's just well beaten. Now to this we need to add our mushroom mixture. Oh yeah, or the mushroom and onions and garlic. Stir all that together. The thawed chopped spinach. To this you need to add a half a cup of mozzarella. And I'm slicing mine up a little bit, chopping it up a little bit, so that it will mix in well. And you need a 1/3 cup of grated Parmesan cheese, which is delicious, my favorite cheese. Mix that in. Now to this, you need to add a tablespoon each of parsley. There's the parsley. And chives. There are the chives. And then you need a half a teaspoon of ground cayenne pepper. go. Now continue mixing all this together, and then we can roll out our dough and make our ravioli. Also salt and pepper this to taste. So I'm going to just do a couple dashes of salt, a little bit of pepper, and then just mix that in there a little bit. Before we roll our ravioli dough out, you need an egg white. So crack an egg, break it, and then run the yolk back and forth between the halves. What this causes is the white to seep out. Okay, you want to move that in your brush aside. You want to take some flour and just lightly flour your surface. Take our dough that you've had resting. You're going to want to put it on the flour and roll it out. We're going for a 1/16 of an inch, which is very thin. Alright, now what you have to do next is, it says use a Christmas cookie cutter. You're looking for a circle one. The closest thing I had was an egg. So what I'm going to have to do is just cut them and then use a butter knife or something to make them more round. Now take these and roll these out a little more, because you got to go thin with them. Okay, as you can see, I've got two thin ones. That's probably a 1/16 of an inch now, maybe a little more. Take your egg white, we're just going to brush it lightly with the egg white, both halves. And I'm just going to take a bit of the mixture, kind of put it there in the center, put them together, and what you're going to do is you're going to pinch the edges. So roll out your dough as thin as possible and you'll get the most of these. Get a large pot of water, put it on your stove on high heat, and add some salt to it. Now that this has come to a rolling boil, drop in your ravioli. Make sure you really roll out the dough, because I only ended up with 6, and I've got a lot of filling left over that I'm just going to eat straight up with crackers or something, so really roll it out thin to use up all your filling. Okay, while this is cooking for 3 to 4 minutes, we can make our sauce, which consists just of a browned butter and some chives. Put a pan, a skillet, over medium. I'm going to do medium-high. Put in some butter, and then stir it while it melts and becomes brown. Now that this has been going for about 5 minutes, stir in 1.5 teaspoons of sliced chives. As you can see, they're starting to float to the top. I'll give them another minute so they all float to the top, but then you're going to want to pour them out in a colander, put them on a plate, and put our sauce over them. Okay, take your ravioli that have been cooking for a few minutes. We're going to pour them out. Trying a piece of my ravioli now. good, but I definitely went too thick on my dough for the pasta. Really make sure you roll it or push it out super thin. A lot thinner than I did, because I mean I only got 6 ravioli. If you roll it thin enough, you should probably get a dozen or 18 or even 20. So roll it thin. Try it. For the butter, if you don't want to brown it, I don't blame you. Not a big fan of brown butter myself, but overall, this recipe's pretty good. Good luck.